Welcome to the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast, a space where we break free from tradition, creating a wedding day totally authentic to you and your love story. I'm Abby, UK wedding planner and owner of Elegance Unlimited, here to help you plan a wedding day that feels uniquely yours. Join me for planning tips and advice, endless inspiration, and a pocket full of calm within the chaos that is wedding planning. Consider me a trusted friend, here to walk you through it all. From injecting fun splashes of personality into your day, to reinventing tradition completely, all whilst focused on building a day bespoke to your dreams and desires. I cannot wait to get started, so let's get planning. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast. I am so grateful to have you here. Thank you for joining me again. As always, I'm just so excited to be doing this. We've had some really good episodes recently. You know, we've had our first guest episode and just some really interesting topics that I feel like I've been talking about, things that I'm really passionate about as well. And this week's no different. This week we have something a little bit different for you as well. So this is episode 14. And this week I'm going to be reading out a listener story that I had sent to me to the podcast email. And this lovely lady was sharing her experience with planning her wedding. And I was reading it, kind of skimming through and just thinking, oh, this would be great to talk about on the podcast because there's so many messages, you know, just from me kind of flicking through it that I was like, oh, we need to talk about this. I need to share this. So I am super, super grateful that this person has sent this in. I'm obviously going to keep it anonymous. We're going to take out names. She's given us a lot of detail by the looks of things. It's a long one, which is why I thought we'd just read it out, have a bit of a chat, have a bit of a natter, and I can talk through some things and some tips and things whilst we go through. So it's a bit of a different episode. I'm in something a bit comfier today and I'm just chilling, you know, if you're watching this on YouTube, we're cross-legged, we're just chilling on the sofa. I'm usually chilling, let's be honest. I'm usually pretty relaxed when I record, but I'm extra chilled today. Feeling the Zen vibes, and I just thought it'd be nice for us to have a little natter. Let's get into it. As usual, if you are enjoying the podcast, then please do give me a review. I'm always super, super grateful. If you need any extra help or support, you can find all of the links to contact me in the show notes below. And come and follow me on Instagram. Come and follow me on our Facebook group. Come and join that. That's got loads of helpful tips in. There's loads of stuff in the show notes for you. It's like a giant goodie bag of good stuff in the show notes, full of links and things that are helpful for you. So definitely go and check those out. Today, we've got a listener story. So it goes without saying that if anybody wants to share anything, please do send it in. It will always be kept anonymous, but I think it's really helpful to get the perspective of real couples and real questions and real dilemmas that people are going through, because it's not a universal... No, it is a universal experience. Hang on. Let me get my words out. It's not a unique experience planning a wedding. Every wedding is unique and every couple is unique and every person will have their own journey through it. But a lot of the same issues and a lot of the same stressors and problems and things come up throughout that I think a lot of other people can relate to. So yeah, if you've ever got anything you want to share, it will be kept anonymous, but if something triggers a little story for you or a question or a topic, then please send it my way. And we can turn it into an episode. So really exciting. But yes, I've got my notes on my phone. We're going to read through and yeah, let's just see how it goes, shall we? I'm very excited. Let me just get comfy again. Hang on. I feel like I'm telling you a story, you know, on like, what was it they did on like CBeebies, bedtime stories? I feel like I need to have a book and I'm going to say, okay, everybody settle down. Let's just take a deep breath. Okay. She says, I was a 2020 bride. So we're going back a few years now, back to like the peak of lockdown we're coming to, 2020. Yeah, I can see where this is going. Okay. My husband and I currently live in Canada, and this is where our wedding was held. I'm currently the maid of honor for my sister-in-law, who is getting married in May 2025 in Canada. I've been listening to your podcast as I help her with her wedding, and I'm loving the advice and tips. Well, you are very welcome. I, by the way, always love hearing good feedback. So if you just ever want to send me a message and say the podcast is great, then I'd love that. Thank you. Let's everybody do that once the episode's finished. I just listened to the episode about wedding parties, and I think you will be interested in the story of how I chose mine. So, this, if you don't remember, if you haven't listened to all the episodes, I did an episode it must be a good few back now, talking about how to put together your perfect wedding party. You know, how to choose your bridesmaid, how to choose your groomsmen if you're struggling with that, things to consider. It was a really good episode, a really helpful one. If that's something that you're struggling with. So I do recommend going and listening to that. But this is the episode that she's referring to. So she's listened to that one and then sent this in. My husband and I met, got engaged, and then married very quickly. She says, I don't recommend this for most couples, but it was just right for us. I think that's it, isn't it? If it's right for you, it's right for you. A huge factor in how quickly we got married was COVID. Yeah, there we go. We both really wanted a beautiful traditional wedding, and we had to squeeze it in between lockdowns and restrictions. Just quickly, a side note, I can't even imagine what that was like, truly. I started my business like post as we were coming out of the lockdowns, and I was like designing my business and planning and putting things into place during the lockdowns, but I didn't have to do what other couples and other suppliers had to do of like going through that whole process and navigating, oh my God, I've got all these weddings booked. What do I do now? It's really tough. I don't envy that at all, but I can't even imagine how tough that would have been, truly. So I will continue. She says, I completed my undergraduate studies and law school in the USA. So many of my dearest girlfriends are Americans. So she's from Canada, remember? But she studied in the USA law. She's very intelligent. My now husband and I were set up by my mum and his auntie, who happen to be lifelong friends. I've known his auntie, uncle, and their children my whole life, but I had not met my now husband because he lived in another province until 2019 when he moved to where we met. How mad is that? You've literally gone your whole life knowing like half his family, but you never met him. And now, obviously, now you're married. How amazing is that? I love that. This is a true, like, your paths are intertwined. Even if you got set up by your mum and your auntie, it's still like the universe working in your favor, drawing you together. That's so, so lovely. She says his auntie and my mum conspired to have us meet each other at a family New Year's Day party on January 1st, 2020. We both had been given forewarning about each other, and the photos and information that had been exchanged was favourable enough for us both to want to attend the party. It was truly love at first sight, and within a few short weeks, we began seriously discussing marriage. Wow, that's amazing. At the time of our engagement, February 14th, 2020. So remember, they met on January 1st. That is wild. At the time of our engagement, he was living in Victoria, Canada, and I was living in Boise, Idaho, USA. I want to say Boise, is that how you pronounce it? I have no idea. Finishing my last semester of law school, I flew to Victoria for the Valentine's Day weekend and he proposed. That's how you know it's true love, isn't it, right? Like they'd literally been together, what's that, 6 weeks? Oh my goodness. I just love love. Don't you just love love? For the rest of February and the beginning of March, I began dreaming of our wedding and I was very excited to ask my girlfriends to be my bridesmaids. I don't have any sisters, just 2 awesome brothers, and I'm not super close with my girl cousins, so I was choosing out of my pool of friends. I had the blessing of a problem of too many wonderful friends to choose from. I have friends from childhood that I stayed close with, even though we live far apart. Friends from undergrad who live far away, but I'm still close with. And then the incredible group of friends that I was currently in close proximity and contact with in Idaho. I also wanted to include my now husband's sister, as she is his only sibling, and even though we didn't know each other, I knew we would be in each other's lives forever now, and I felt that it would be so special for her to be a bridesmaid. That's so nice. So you really do have the problem of loads of people and scattered all over the place as well. I boiled it down to 6 bridesmaids. My longtime childhood best friend, 2 best friends from university, my 2 closest friends from law school, and my soon-to-be sister-in-law. All of these ladies, except for my husband's sister, live in the USA. Gosh, so they are nowhere near Canada. That is true. Unfortunately, due to COVID, the Canada/US border was closed mid-March 2020, and air travel was restricted a little while later. I returned to Canada and continued to plan our wedding. We booked the wedding for October 9th, 2020, and hoped that the border would be open in time for my American friends to be able to travel. However, the 2-week shutdown turned into months, and I eventually realized that my American friends would not be able to attend my wedding. Do you remember? I know you remember. I don't even know why I'm saying it. When we literally thought, oh, it'll just be a couple of weeks. That's not going to be very long. I don't talk many things political or, COVID or things that can really stir up some tough emotions in people on this podcast. I tried to keep it a lighthearted place, but I feel like this is a perfect example of how things can just be turned on its head and you can't plan for anything. And remember when we were like, yeah, it's only going to be 2 weeks. And then everybody's weddings, I remember hearing about it because, as I say, I was starting my business. I was literally just beginning. And all I heard was weddings are stopped. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do this. There was a story in one of my previous episodes when I had on Maisie from MRC Dance. And she was talking about how one of her couples didn't get to have their first dance because of COVID. And you literally couldn't do anything at a wedding. You just had to sit in your seat and you couldn't even move, you couldn't mingle, you couldn't talk. Like, it's so easy now to forget, I think. In a lot of ways it's not, and there's a lot of reminders there about that period of everyone's lives, but it's really easy to forget how much changed so quickly. And yeah, I'm obviously very grateful we're at the other side of that. But for this couple, they were planning a wedding like right in the peak of it. That's really tough, really tough. So, where was I? She said the 2 week shutdown turned into months. Yes. And I eventually realized that my American friends would not be able to attend my wedding. We didn't want to postpone as it became impossible to predict how long the lockdowns would continue on for. My husband also had a lot of friends in the US and back in Ontario. I don't know how to pronounce. You're going to have to. I'm so sorry. You're going to have to ignore me on pronunciations, please, because it's not my forte. My husband had a lot of friends in the US and back in Ontario who were unable to attend, so eventually we had to choose a smaller bridal party. My husband's childhood best friend was able to fly from Ontario to be his best man, and then he also asked my 2 brothers to be his groomsmen. That's lovely. I asked my husband's cousin to be my maid of honor. Even though I'd known her since childhood, she and I weren't overly close, but she and her sister, so his 2 cousins, had been so supportive of us when we got engaged, and again, because they're his family, I knew we would be in each other's lives more moving forward. I asked my husband's sister and one of his other cousins to be my bridesmaids. So she's got 1 cousin, maid of honor now, 1 sister, 1 other cousin as her bridesmaids. One of my American friends ended up being very upset that I asked other ladies to be my bridesmaids when she couldn't come. This was hurtful since it was not my fault that she couldn't come, and it seemed very selfish that she was mad I chose other ladies as bridesmaids. Luckily, everyone else was very understanding since it was such a difficult situation that was out of everyone's hands. I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like, what are you going to do? Be mad, but what are you going to do? What am I supposed to do? It was just an impossible situation. She says, I was so disappointed that my American friends couldn't even be at our wedding, let alone part of the bridal party, and that the wedding had to be very small. It ended up being pretty much just close family members, but in hindsight, I see that it was very special. The women who ended up being my bridesmaids really stepped up for me and made my bridal experience so special. I've gotten so much closer to each of them since then. I got to be a bridesmaid for one of them in 2023 and now matron of honor for another this year. Even though these ladies were not who I had thought of for a bridal party for years and years, because they are family and they put in a lot of effort to celebrate my husband and I, it turned out to be a wonderful bridal party. Thank you for reading my story. You are so welcome, firstly. And she even sent a picture. I can't show you, I can't show you, but she even sent a picture of her husband, and the bridal party. So you can see her 3 bridesmaids or maid of honor and 2 bridesmaids, and then his groomsmen and no, his best man and 2 groomsmen on the other side. And stunning, by the way, absolutely beautiful couple. And also, I've gone global. I'm getting emails from people that are not even in the UK. How wild is that? That's pretty exciting, huh? And I think just so interesting and so lovely to get a story from someone that's not in the UK and is still, this is what I mean by it's not a unique experience. Like, we're all across the world still having these same problems. So what I think is really interesting about this story, put this down now, get back into my talking mode. What I think is really interesting about this, and the point that I guess I really wanted to raise today on the podcast, is about having this flexibility and about having this open mind and just about being open to things changing. Because, okay, we're not in a pandemic anymore and COVID and lockdowns are in the rearview mirror. But at the same time, it's a perfect example of how things changed. These people weren't who she thought were going to be her bridesmaids and maid of honor growing up. They weren't her best and closest friends. Granted, she's got closer to them now, and that's so, so lovely. But these aren't the people that she had on her list for this is who I want to have. So I think it's, it's not even just you can have something in mind and it's really tough to even narrow down your options. Sometimes then the world throws something else at you that's like, oh, God, now I've got to go and think it through again. Now I've got to go and plan things again and kind of rethink through all my ideas that I'd initially thought through. That can be really, really tough. And I think this story is a perfect message of having an open mind, being prepared for anything to change, and understanding that it's not the end of the world. Like she said, she still had an amazing day, and you can too. The pictures were stunning. At the end of the day, this is the love of her life. She's married. That's the most important thing. And I think I'm a big advocate for creating your own special moments, you know? So if you can't have your nearest and dearest at your wedding day and they're like gutted that they can't be there, maybe you've had to do it in another country and you've got people overseas that can't make it for whatever reason. Maybe it's health reasons, maybe the flights get cancelled. It could be anything. Life doesn't just hand us everything we're hoping for on a plate. Sometimes it has other plans. If that is the case, I truly believe in being able to take matters into our own hands. And who says that a year down the line or the next time you guys can get together, you can't create a really special moment where you're making a little mini ceremony or doing something really special to mark the occasion and celebrate your love and your marriage with people that couldn't be there. I see nothing wrong with that. Sort yourselves out a nice little lunch, go out for lunch somewhere and have a little photo shoot done. And for this woman here, your bridesmaids couldn't be there, but next time you get to see them, go out for a nice lunch, have a nice night out, dress up, do an extra special hen party thing for you, bachelorette party in America, isn't it? There are always ways to make memories, and your story doesn't have to look the same as everyone else's. Your journey and your wedding journey and your wedding day and the whole process does not need to look the same as everyone else's. And that's not even just in terms of the physical decor and styling and how it looks. This is in terms of the process and how that goes down and the things, the memories you make and the events that you create. It doesn't have to look the same. It doesn't have to look traditional. Even if you're hoping that it's traditional, this couple wanted a really traditional wedding, but they ended up having to do things a bit differently. Sometimes that's just how it goes. And I think if you're open to that and you're willing to accept that and kind of take that on board, you can still have a really, really magical day and a magical experience. Ultimately, if you're married at the end of it, I mean, this whirlwind romance that this couple have had, knowing each other for just a few weeks and then getting to be married, that's incredible. And they got married at the end of it. So they won, you know? It's just incredible. I love love. Okay. I love love. I know there was a little mention in there as well of one of her bridesmaids being quite upset that they couldn't then be a part of it anymore. Sometimes that happens, you know? I've talked about this. Sometimes it happens and it's out of your hands. Not everyone is going to be happy for you, regardless of what happens. Sometimes people are going to only be happy for you when it's on their terms. And yeah, I agree with the the lady who wrote in saying that, she felt it was a bit selfish. I'd probably feel the same. I know that emotions are heightened when you're planning a wedding and somebody getting to be a bridesmaid. It feels like a big honor. And it is because you're one of the chosen people that gets to be by their side. You're considered someone that they really want standing by their side on that day. So if they took that away from you uncalled for, and let's bear in mind, it's rarely ever going to be uncalled for. If you get the bridesmaid duties, the bridesmaid badge of honor taken away from you, it's likely because you've done something wrong. Let's just put that out there. Okay. But if in a situation like this, where it's totally out of anyone's control, how can you be mad at that? Obviously it's disappointing. Obviously it's really sad. But at the same time, you were in a lockdown. Like you physically could not fly from one place to another, and you were still a bridesmaid in spirit. I think that's the most important thing. But she just couldn't physically have you there. And she can't be expected to postpone her whole wedding just for you because you want to be there. Ultimately, our individual lives come first. We have to put ourselves first in those situations. They wanted to be married as soon as possible. Listen, they were in love, whirlwind romance, okay? It's important to them that they got married when they wanted to get married. I totally get it. So, yeah, they should not have felt bad at all for having to change things around. And I really do think that she made the best of that situation by including people that perhaps weren't as close to her at that time, perhaps weren't as those kind of key women, key people in her life at that time, but they've become that. And I think weddings can bond people, weddings can bring people closer together, but also you are growing your family. You're extending the people that love and care about you into a whole other family. And she was strategic. She thought it through. And I think that's a really clever way of doing it. She could have just chose friends that were, close by in Canada, but she didn't. She chose people that she thought, these are going to be my family. These are going to be my people. And I want to start my new life with these people by my side. And I think that's incredible. I think that's a lovely way to do it. And again, just goes to show that you really can do anything you want. There's no rules. You don't have to do it a certain way. Like nothing has to be set in stone. It's your day and you get to navigate that. You get to be the one in charge and in control of how that goes. Even when the world and the universe is throwing things like pandemics and things in our face, We can still keep control of those situations. It's how you handle it, isn't it? I think the ultimate message here from this story and from everything that I'm kind of talking about as well is that sometimes things don't go to plan. And ultimately, how are we going to handle those? How are we going to cope with changes to our wedding last minute? How are we going to cope with unforeseen circumstances? And ultimately, it comes down to a few things. Your mindset is everything. Understanding that we are only in control of so much and finding the ways that you can take control of the things that matter to you and take control in a way that still feels like, yeah, I've got the reins here. I'm in control. Doesn't matter what life throws at me. I'm still going to have an amazing wedding day. It's still going to be the best day of my life. How do I navigate through this to make it something that I'm comfortable with and I'm happy with the end result? Because, like we've said, even not just down to having to change your wedding party, we talked in an episode, last episode or the one before, we were talking about rain on your wedding day and how do you navigate that? How do you prepare for that? How do you cope with that? Will you cope with that by having the open mindset that it might rain, but no, it's not going to ruin my wedding day. It does not have the control, it does not have the power to ruin my wedding day because I'm not giving it that power. And the same applies here, you know? Devastating. I would be so devastated if I could not have my best friends, my closest women, my favorite people beside me on my wedding day. I would be truly devastated. But at the same time, if something happened that meant that could not happen, the main goal for me is to get married. The main goal for me, if my future husband is there and we are married at the end of the day and then husband and wife, that's it for me. That's all I need. It doesn't need to take away from that sadness, but I am not giving that situation the power to ruin my wedding day. It doesn't have that power. Okay? If I'm married and in love, then the day has been successful. Nothing else has the power to ruin it. It can make me sad, it can make me feel a bit disheartened, but at the end of the day, it doesn't have that much power. I think this brings up another really important point about keeping your boundaries in place during that planning process. think of all the things that were going wrong in this couple scenario, the lockdowns and the changing plans and the uncertainty and the not knowing and the money and the time they're putting into things, not even knowing how their wedding day is going to get to go, but they still managed to keep their boundaries in place and create a day that felt perfect for them. It's a shame that they couldn't have all of their bridesmaids and groomsmen, but putting their boundaries in place to say, no, we're still having our wedding day on this day. I'm truly sorry that you can't make it. Hopefully we can celebrate in another way, but this is how it's going to go. Please don't make me feel bad. Don't make me feel like don't be selfish about it. It's my wedding day, not yours. And ultimately, who's lost out more here? The woman who doesn't get to have her chosen bridesmaids by her side, or the people that don't get to be there? I'm always going to argue that the couple are going to suffer more from that, okay? Because it's their wedding day. As nice as it is to be a bridesmaid and a groomsman and be involved, it's going to hurt more as the couple. That's not to say that the people that she chose in the end weren't amazing, and that's a true blessing in another form, I think. But yeah, it's going to sting more for the couple, okay? So let's not be selfish around things. If things bother us and upset us and hurt us and things like that, fine, but it's not your wedding day. It's not. Just think about the couple. It's going to sting them more, and maybe let's just be there for them, okay? Let's not make them feel bad. Let's not make them feel worse than they already are in a situation that's out of their control. Maybe let's just say, I'm so sorry that I can't be there. I'm really looking forward to the next time we can see each other. We are going to celebrate in style. We are going to celebrate you. We are going to have your wedding part 2. We're going to give you the most amazing belated bachelorette. It's going to be incredible. And I'm going to make you feel special. Do that as a friend. Don't do the other thing and make them feel bad. And, they're already feeling bad. They don't need you to do that for them. Okay. And even though I'm a wedding planner and I love planning weddings, I'm still going to say this and I'm still going to believe it and say it with confidence. Ultimately, your wedding day isn't the only opportunity to make incredible memories in your lifetime. Obviously, it's really lovely to have an amazing wedding day. I'm always going to advocate for that. Okay, I'm a wedding planner. It'd be silly not to. But at the end of the day, you have a whole lifetime to create amazing memories. And I mentioned this earlier on in the episode. You have the power to just make memories whenever you want to. You can encourage those situations, plan the nice dinner, plan a second little party, get everyone together again, make things feel special, get dressed up, get a photographer to come along and take pictures, professional pictures before you go out for your belated bachelorette party type thing. There are always ways to make that feel special. And it's all about thinking, well, actually, if I'd have had the wedding day that I was initially planning, I wouldn't have got this moment. And everything's working out for a reason. Everything's working out just the way it's supposed to, and I'm still in control. I think a lot of this stress and a lot of the worry and a lot of the sadness can come from feeling like we're not in control. You can be in control, just in a different way. And control doesn't mean making everything go perfectly. Control means, actually, I've got a handle on this situation. I'm in the driver's seat, and I have the power to have the best day of my life here. And that's exactly what it can be. I truly feel like I could just keep giving motivational speeches for another hour, maybe 2. But honestly, nobody wants to sit here and listen to that. But I really like this kind of episode. I liked being able to share a story from a real wedding couple. I liked being able to give my insight on it, and I liked being able to share that insight with you. Okay? So if you've enjoyed it too, then you got to let me know. And if you want more like this, then you got to send me in some stories, because I could probably write a few, but they're not real, okay? I can't pretend that I'm not that good at writing, okay? It needs to be a real story. So if you've got any stories about your planning process or anything, I'm nosy. I want to hear it all. And I know that the listeners are nosy too, okay? We want to be all up in your business. So please send any more stories in if you like this kind of episode. But I thought it would just be a bit fun, a bit different. Like I say, I saw it come into my email box and I thought, yeah, I like that. We're going to talk about it. So we have. And I hope it was helpful. I hope it's given you that insight that whatever happens, your wedding day is going to be perfect. It's going to be beautiful. I can picture it now. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be magical, and there's going to be smiles and tears and laughter. Whatever happens, the people that show up are there to celebrate you. And even if they can't show up because of sickness or because of lack of being able to travel, whatever the case may be, know that they still love you, know that they still care, and create those opportunities to make special memories with them at a later date. Okay, we're grown ups. We can do that whenever we want. We have the power to do that whenever we want to. So, yeah. I hope you have enjoyed this episode as much as I have enjoyed recording it for you. If you like episodes like this, then do let me know. Send in your stories. Come join the Facebook group so we can share some more tips and advice and just chat a little bit more over there. Come follow me on Instagram, leave a review, all the good stuff. You know what to do. And until next time, next week, who knows what next week's episode's going to be? You just have to wait and see. I get him, I keep rhyming. This is disgusting. I'm so sorry. I'm going to stop now, but thank you so much for listening. I will speak to you next week. Have a good one. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Your Wedding Unlimited podcast. I hope you're feeling inspired and excited to create your dream wedding day and those lasting memories. Don't forget to hit that follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. I'll be back next Wednesday with more tips, advice, and inspiration. In the meantime, don't be a stranger. Come and find me on Instagram and TikTok at Your Wedding Unlimited, where I share even more wedding ideas and behind-the-scenes insights. You can also watch these episodes on YouTube at Your Wedding Unlimited. And if you're looking for even more support, come and join my private Facebook group, Your Wedding Unlimited. It's an amazing community of fun and authentic engaged couples, packed with extra tips, advice, and insights to guide you along your journey. If you have any questions or need more info, you can DM me or send me an email at yourweddingunlimitedpodcast@gmail.com. All links and details will be in the show notes. Until next time, happy planning!